This week on football, how dare he celebrate? Salah and Trent come to blows. Sane has issues. Manchester United unveil new stadium plans. And PSG knock Liverpool out at Anfield. Hello everybody, welcome to This Week on Football. It is me, Alex. Thank you for joining me once again. You may notice that there's a kind of different setting. We have a few structural issues in the studio, so you'll have to bear with me this week. It's a little bit different. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, great. What an opportunity to go and subscribe right now. Bang, subscribe. If you want to like the video, like it. If you don't and you want to wait until you enjoy something in a little bit, then wait and maybe throw us a like. That'll do us a load of good. If you haven't been onto my TikTok, that's me personally. It's at Alex Goalposts. You could go and see all the best bits, all the interesting bits, the debates and all the things that people want to say to me in their spare time, which usually equates to a lot of mean things. If you haven't seen us on Instagram, it's at Goalpost TV. A little bit different, like I said, this week because of the setting, which also means I don't have a script. So I'm going off the fly. I'm trying to read what I've got written down there, a little note here and there. But otherwise, it's just me ranting at you for half an hour. But this week I have got my team of the week as usual. I'll be doing the weekend treble at the end of the show, so stay tuned for that. That's where I'm going to earn you all your money. We are also going to have a look at the celebration police. We're going to look at the best celebrations, the coldest celebrations in football as well. So it's a celebration episode this week. First, let's talk about that celebration from Declan Rice, by the way. Now, look, I went on to a little rant on TikTok about it because I actually personally think it's absolutely ridiculous that we are unable to celebrate goals in the modern game. Look, the context is very, very important on a goal. If Declan Rice scores a goal in a game, but they're not going to win the title, they're out of it, maybe you're not going to say celebrate like you've just won the Champions League. I understand it. But the moment you start taking celebrations away from football at every level, just because you're not going to win a league, we're losing the love, the beauty of football. We're losing the heart of football. Because, and I mentioned this in the video this week on TikTok, that Brentford, they're not going to win a league title. But their home fans turn up. Their away fans turn up every week. They follow them home and away all over the country. Does that mean that they can't celebrate a goal? Declan Rice, did he have to go as nuts as he did at that moment? Maybe not. But he was in front of 75,000 people at Old Trafford, one of the largest, biggest clubs in the world, and he scored an equaliser. With still, by the way, plenty of time to go for Arsenal to try and make a comeback in that game. Now, there's two sides to every story, but what I was annoyed about the most, I think what really annoyed me the most, is that since Jamie Carragher had a go at Martin Odegaard to tell him to get down the tunnel, all of a sudden, Arsenal can't celebrate a goal. And I'm not an Arsenal fan, as you guys know, but I don't understand why Arsenal are being picked on. I do and I don't. I understand it because Arsenal fans on Twitter can be a little bit different, shall we say, but you can't have a go at the team because of that. Declan Rice is well within his rights to celebrate a goal, and if he scores a great goal, which is a great finish as well, he can celebrate. He can celebrate. He can give it back to the fans who've been giving it him all game. I don't think that's wrong. I don't think it's wrong at all. But yes, that's my rant about it. And I think a lot of people actually, funnily enough, with that, which is interesting, don't agree with me. They think that Declan Rice should have got the ball and ran back up. And this is even Arsenal fans. Arsenal fans are saying this, that he should have gone and got the ball back, which, fair enough. I see both sides of it. I said I wanted to do the coldest celebrations in football. This is a little bit different in that celebrations are great. You see some great celebrations, some dances, some unique things where kind of like you're dedicating a goal to something. This is the coldest. This is the kind of aura about a footballer when he scores a goal. And there's quite a nice little mix of players, but you'll probably see all these players had an aura. Whether they were great players or just good players, they had something about them. In at number 10, Balotelli's stare against Germany. That goal for Italy in the Euros 2012, it was a fantastic goal. It was a thunderbolt of a strike. And I think that also lends a little bit towards the celebration. The harder you hit it, the better the goal is, the more aura you can have, the colder your celebration can be. And that strike was unbelievable. And Balotelli deserved to do that celebration, took his top off and just stared. He was nuts, Balotelli. Let's be honest, he was absolutely nuts. But that celebration was brilliant, you've got to admit. At number 9, Wilfried Zaha laughing in the face of Emi Martinez. What I love about this is he's so unbothered by Emi Martinez, and Emi Martinez is so furious. I think the penalty had gone a little bit back and forth where there was players trying to put Zaha off, but he came up and took the penalty and put it away comfortably and then kind of celebrated, but didn't celebrate and in a jokey way in front of Emi Martinez. And I love that because Emi Martinez, by the way, can give it, so he should be able to take it as well. At number 8, corner flag obliteration. This is Jamie Vardy's absolute annihilation of the corner flag against Sheffield United. What's different about this goal is that it was in front of zero crowd. It was during the lockdowns. So Jamie Vardy, to have a cold celebration when there's no fans in the stadium, that's pretty impressive. Jamie Vardy's catalogue of celebrations is brilliant. He's always out there to wind up fans. But this one I love because he's gone for the corner flag and he's absolutely destroyed it. There are some other things to this. Obviously, if you look at the colours of the flag, a lot of people draw some comparisons to certain political figures and statements. I don't know whether Jamie Vardy's thinking that at the time, but he definitely destroys that flag. And yeah, brilliant celebration. Number 7, Ronaldo. Ronaldo's karma celebration against Barcelona. This was a big energy goal. This was a goal where it was like the biggest stage. Those Clásicos, I remember watching those Clásicos and oh my God, they were the best days. They were the best days of football. The Messi versus Ronaldo Clásicos, and that's forgetting all the other unbelievable talent that was on the pitch at the time. But that goal in front of the fans and then to just karma. He's almost like he's the king of the world in that moment. He is the absolute don of football at that point. And to do that celebration unbothered, it was magic. Number 6, we've got Henry. Is that enough? This is the celebration which I think maybe I remember the most of the Premier League era when growing up. It was a game between Arsenal and Wigan, and Henry was trying to take a free kick. And I think the Arsenal team had previously been been criticised for trying to take free kicks quickly. The referees had spotted that, and I think the referee at the time was Graham Poll. I have a note somewhere here. Yes, it was Graham Poll. Graham Poll had tried to stop Henry from taking that free kick quickly. And it's about 30, 40 yards out. It's a mammoth distance out. It's monstrous. And he's just smashed it into the bottom corner and beat the goalkeeper. Turned round, looked at the referee and said, "Is that enough?" Henry was the coldest player that I can remember. He was the player with the most quote-unquote aura that I can remember when growing up. And that goal, not just a brilliant goal, but an iconic celebration as well. At number 5, we've got that man again, Mario Balotelli. One of the most iconic celebrations in Premier League history. It's the "Why Always Me." He scores in a Manchester derby. It's a killer for United fans, and he turns round after having a lot of press, a lot of media attention. By the way, his fault for that. And turns around, lifts up a top, and underneath it says, "Why Always Me?" One of the most iconic. It's a brilliant celebration. He's actually gone to the effort and printed it all out, got it all made, kind of knowing that he's going to score in the Manchester derby, which is fairly impressive, you've got to admit. Number 4, Aguero's moment. That Aguero goal. It's the occasion, it's the goal, but it's the last minute, it's the celebration of the crowd. Everything about it is amazing. And you have to admit it. The top comes off, he's whirling it around, he's loving up the fans, and I think he probably just loses himself in the moment. But again, those images of him celebrating are just iconic. They are. They're absolutely brilliant. Number 3, we have got Eric Cantona's chip against Sunderland. This was the epitome of Eric Cantona and who he was and what he provided for this Manchester United side. He provided a class, a confidence and arrogance that Manchester United needed during those years. It was the first time that Man United had won a title was when Eric Cantona came into their side, and I think it was like 20 years, and Fergie brought him in, and Cantona turned up after absolutely flying at Leeds, and then came into this Man United side and ripped it up. The 96-97 season, the chip came, and it was just a delicate chip, a beautiful chip, and there's a brilliant backstory behind that Eric Cantona chip. What had happened previously in the tunnel during that game or before that game was Eric Cantona had gone up to the goalkeeper who he'd previously played with. The guy's name's Perez, who was the goalkeeper for Sunderland at the time. He's gone to shake his hand because he hadn't seen him since they last played together. And apparently, according to Eric Cantona, the goalkeeper had refused his handshake and ignored him. And what a way to pay it back that he chips him in that way, the most humiliating way, and then celebrates like that. He kind of just taking it all in. Like the collar up, again, iconic celebration and an iconic player in Premier League history. Number 2, Adebayor's sprint against Arsenal. This is amazing. It is amazing. The fact that he's got the audacity to run the full length of the pitch, he's got that hatred in him towards the Arsenal fans, who, by the way, were giving it him all game. He's gone to City and then he's scored a goal against his former club and ran the full length of the pitch and just taken the abuse. Him alone kind of knee sliding there in front of the fans is unbelievable. It was a magic watch and an amazing moment in Premier League history, you have to admit, and even Arsenal fans have to admit that. At number 1, I think the coldest celebration in the history of football is Lionel Messi's The Messiah. He's holding his shirt up in front of the fans during a Clasico after scoring the winner, and it was a brilliant goal. It was a brilliant comeback from Barcelona that day. And yeah, he goes to the fans, stands up, and then takes his shirt off and shows his name on the back of the shirt. The greatest, the best player that's ever played the game. It's his moment. That's his moment, and it is a brilliant celebration. But it then became iconic in itself that, you know, taking your shirt off was one thing, but then turning it around, showing the fans who you are, that it's all about you. It's cold, and you got to admit that. Right, let's do my team of the week. This, for the people who are regular listeners, is the part of the show where I show you kind of how many games I managed to watch during a week. I only include players in this team that I've seen play 90 minutes. It will vary week to week, and obviously you'll see me watch a lot of Man United games, a lot of Premier League games, but I'm trying to vary my footballing intake. I watch loads of European games now, and loads of Serie A, some PSG games when I can, some French League games when I can, and some Spanish League games. Also, a couple of League One Championship as well. So yeah, I'm trying to flood myself with football and try and give you a decent idea of what's going on. In goal, Alisson. I think everyone who watched that PSG game previously, this is a week ago now, probably witnessed maybe one of the best goalkeeping displays ever. And I'll admit that as someone who actually doesn't rate Alisson that much. I'm not saying that he's not a good goalkeeper. He's a brilliant goalkeeper. I've never felt like he's on the level of some of the greats. But during that game, in that 90 minutes against PSG, it's one of the best, if not the best, single-handed goalkeeping displays I've ever seen. He did absolutely everything to keep Liverpool in that tie. Some of the saves were just on an individual basis, one by one, were world-class saves, but he had a catalogue of them. He had a whole bunch of them during the game. He came out early, he dominated, he made sure he got fingertips to stuff, he made the team feel safe, and that PSG front line is so aggressive, so front-footed, always attacking, shooting from range, shooting from close in, and Alisson was at the end of everything. He had an answer to everything. And you got to give it to him for that. Right back, Ola Aina. I mentioned it a couple of weeks ago that he's been the best right back in the Premier League this season, which he definitely has. And I don't really have much more to say other than he kept one of the most difficult, tricky wingers in the Premier League quiet. Jeremy Doku really struggled against him. And Ola Aina, I feel like when he comes up against these wingers, he's actually said this openly, that he looks forward to it. But he's always thinking about who his opponent is directly every week. And when it comes to the players like Jeremy Doku and some of the most tricky, quick players in the league, he relishes it. And that is a sign, that is a quality of a top draw player, and a player that probably deserves to be playing at a higher level more consistently, a Champions League player. Potentially Forest may get there next season, but if they don't, I think he's got potential to play for a bigger side. Centre-back, let's talk about this guy, and I don't want to hype him up too early. I don't want to even say it, but at the same time, you have to acknowledge someone who looks like they're the real deal. Aiden Heaven looks like the real deal. I love the comments that have come out from Ruben Amorim about his attitude, about his temperament, that he's so cool, he's so laid back, because this is the thing that you're going to need in this Manchester United side to succeed. If you are nervous, if you are a little bit lacking confidence, you are never going to make it in this cauldron, this pit of despair that is Man United right now. And the fact that he has that confidence, that temperament, is going to see him through. He's young, he only cost £1 million from Arsenal, there's not much pressure on him. And you can feel that during that game, that Arsenal game, he was controlled, he was reserved, he wasn't going flying into tackles, which you might expect someone under that kind of scrutiny, that pressure, that intensity, that the eyes of the world are on you. He wasn't doing that. He was composed all throughout the game, and you can see that in his play, and you can see that actually in his body language as well. He looks like a monster of a centre-half. He is a big centre-back, a tall centre-back. He looks good in the air, but he looks great on the ball, and this is what we need at Man United, and this could be the answer to Ruben Amorim's problems, hopefully going forward. We'll see. Look, I don't like being one of those people who goes too early, but I do get a little bit excited when I see a decent player coming through, and I'm excited about Aiden Heaven. Alongside him, Marlon Pack. For Portsmouth, this guy's been playing midfield. He's no youngster by any means, but he's playing centre-back for Portsmouth at the moment. And Portsmouth are actually doing okay. They're actually doing all right. And Marlon Pack filling in centre-back. I think I've seen him play twice there now. And both times I've been really impressed with him. You can tell that he's got quality because he's a midfielder in the past. But he seems so assured and composed. And I watched him against Leeds, one of the most furious, if not the most furious attacking force in the Championship. And he was really good and kept them out all game and kept a clean sheet. Left back, Milos Kerkez. Milos Kerkez's cross, by the way, against Tottenham was probably the assist of the season. That was unbelievable. And actually, there's almost part of me that wants to say, did he mean it? Did he mean it to go to Marcus Tavernier? I don't know. It looked like an unbelievable cross if he did, and it's assist of the season if it was intentional. Central midfield. This is a guy who I actually think is sneakily having a decent little bit of run of form, Casemiro. I think Casemiro's been good the last couple of games, and look, he's had his fair share of scrutiny. He's been told that he should retire by pundits week in, week out, which is absolutely outrageous when you really think about it, for a player who should demand a little bit more respect than that. Yes, your legs could go, but I don't think that's the issue. I don't think that's ever been the issue for Casemiro. I think it's the system. And you can see when Man United play a lower block, they sit in a little bit and they're a little bit more defensive. Casemiro's not as stretched. He's not having to run back 50 yards and then run forward 50 yards to get on the end of things. He seems to be able to solidify his position, sit there, make tackles, make nice little passes, cute passes around the corner. It feels like he's the proper defensive midfielder that we've signed, that we wanted to sign, that was worth all that money and that was winning all those titles for Real Madrid. I've never really felt like Casemiro's problem is a legs problem. I felt like it's a system problem because that is demonstrated by every other player in the Premier League for Man United getting absolutely obliterated. Look, it doesn't happen in the Europa League. It doesn't happen, obviously, in the FA Cup. But when you come against these high, intense presses, these stretched games in the Premier League where a lot of players are reliant on their fitness, Casemiro gets exposed. But when it's not like that, when United sit and low block, he looks good. So maybe there's something there. I don't know. Declan Rice, we've already spoken about him. He's in my team of the week. I thought he was brilliant against Man United, and I think he gets a lot of unfair criticism. I don't actually know why he does. And then finishing off, again, another guy that I have not stopped talking about for the last few weeks is Bruno Fernandes, and I won't say any more other than what a player. Left wing, Callum Hudson-Odoi. I think Callum Hudson-Odoi at the start of the season, I was really excited about him. He was a player that kind of got lost, but I'm starting to think that maybe this is one of the biggest bargains in Premier League history. The fact that Nottingham Forest snapped up Callum Hudson-Odoi for €3.5 million at the start of this season, the start of last season, and he had a great debut season for Nottingham Forest last season. He's having a great season this season. If he can steer clear of injuries, he's a top winger in the Premier League. And I find it so funny that Chelsea have thrown all this money at these different players, Jadon Sancho, Mikhailo Mudryk, Pedro Neto. These players that, I don't think are better than Callum Hudson-Odoi. And I think that's hilarious that they let him go and have spent a couple $100 million to try and replace him and not found anything better. And one of those players that they're going to end up with is Jadon Sancho, which I just find hilarious. And then we've got right wing Marcus Tavernier. I thought Marcus Tavernier was brilliant. Funnily enough, a couple of episodes ago, you might remember, I asked one of the guys in the group chat, who's a player that you really like watching that you'd always switch on a game for? And we said Cole Palmer, Kevin De Bruyne, Mo Salah maybe. And one of my mates came up with Marcus Tavernier and we all laughed. And I still stand by that because it's hilarious. But he's low-key having the season of his life. He's been brilliant for Bournemouth. Bournemouth have been amazing this season. But Marcus Tavernier is a massive, massive cog in that machine. He is always a willing runner. He is up and down all game, and he's got quality at the end. And that is important. He's winning his team games. He's getting assists as well this season. Really, really good player and very, very underrated. Finishing off, Ousmane Dembele. Dembele is probably one of, if not the best players in Europe right now. He scores in big matches. He scores in big moments. He is one of the most two-footed players in the world. He's a fantastic dribbler. I could go on and on. Pace, power, can shoot, can get in the right places. And he's proven that this season because he's almost being asked to play up front and play in a striker's role, which typically you'd expect Dembele to play a wide role. And I think that's really hindered him because maybe he's been misprofiled because he's quick, he's skillful, and he's two-footed. So naturally you think, right, let's get him out on the wing where he can affect the game, where he can kind of run at fullbacks. No, he's got a little bit of something in his head where he can get in the right place at the right time, and he's scoring bags of goals this season. He's getting assists, he's getting goals. His numbers are outrageous, and like I said, he's doing it in big games, which is the most important thing. Right, let's do my weekend treble. Guys, we were let down last week, and I'd love to say it was my fault, but actually, I don't think it is. The only one that let us down, we had two selections come in. The last one was Brentford versus Aston Villa, both teams to score. I cannot believe that ended 1-0. I cannot believe that Brentford haven't scored there, but they didn't. And it was a letdown, and we've missed by one goal once again. We are still up for the season, £59.24. So we're doing really, really well still. There's a couple of weeks still left of the season, 8, 9, 10 weeks left of the season. So still loads of time to make more money. This week's selections, I've gone for Man City versus Brighton over 2.5 goals. Second selection is Coventry versus Sunderland over 1.5 goals. And then finally, Leipzig or draw against Dortmund. That's the double chance against Dortmund. £10, get you £24.50 back this week. A little bit lower, but we're trying to go and get a win back. £24.50 back off a tenner isn't too bad. Like I said, and like I say every week, stick with me this season. I am winning you money, and I'm showing it, and I'm demonstrating it. I will be back next week, next Wednesday, and every Wednesday until the end of the season. Thanks for bearing with me with no script, with a different setting and a different studio. But thanks once again. Again, go and subscribe, go and like, go and follow me over on TikTok where all the best bits are. Again, have a great week.